The views, comments, and opinions of the following program do not necessarily reflect those of Morris Media Studios, MorrisMediaLive.com, or its affiliates. Listener discretion is advised.
Podcast show. I am Kara Adams, and I am so excited to be here. Now, you might have seen one of my guests, Miss Jill Eaton, on I think my episode 17, but we have brought her back, and we have brought the lovely Kamisha Miles, right?
Thank you. Yes,
oh,
ma'am.
see, I'm getting it good. To our show today. They are both from the Susan G. Komen Inland Empire affiliate. And I'm so excited to have them here today and to talk about just everything that's going on with Susan G. Komen. Now, you know with the show, you know with Hidden Treasure, I love bringing in just women, interesting people, interesting guests that have lived interesting lives. And so Hidden Treasure Moments podcast is about giving a platform and having people share their stories of just whatever they're up to, whether it's that they have gone through something traumatic or they're just doing amazing things in the community. And my two guests are no different. So Jill and Kamisha, they are amazing. Jill, if you'd start by telling us a little bit about Susan G. Komen. You're the executive director of our Inland Empire affiliate, and just give us a little hint about you.
Absolutely. Well, Kara, thank you again for allowing us to come back on the show. Yay! I'm so happy to be here. So I'm the executive director at Susan G. Komen Inland Empire. Our affiliate represents both Riverside and San Bernardino counties, so it's the size of two states, over nearly 30,000 miles. And what we do is we provide services to those in need for breast cancer health related issues. We are a granting organization, so we have 5 grant partners here in our community that we're thrilled to have that help us with our screening, education, patient navigation services, as well as treatment and support programs.
So tell me a little bit more, because I don't really understand how the grant program, how that works. And I don't think I've ever spoke about it. I've never really asked questions about it.
Wow.
But I know, I always go way off. So I prepare like this whole little, like, this is what we're going to talk about. And then I like sidetrack because my brain is like squirrel. And so like, can any 501c3, like, how do people apply for the grant?
Okay.
So basically, Komen Inland Empire is a granting organization. We're a funding organization and a granting organization. 75% of fundings from those that are fundraised come back to the community, and 25% goes into our research programs on a national level. Mm-hmm. So the way that so I do our grants management. And so basically, we look for people who have evidence-based programs that deal with breast cancer services.
So evidence-based programs.
Yes.
What does that mean?
That means that it's been a proven method of breast health services in the community. So basically, we get some we get a lot of people that apply, and it's wonderful. So many people are encouraged about really helping with breast services, but we have to make sure that those programs have been established and has really helped the community.
Okay.
So we have a workshop where we invite everybody in to go ahead and explain to them how our grant system works.
Okay.
We have a wonderful GEMS program.
Yes, we do.
That people apply for. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit challenging.
GEMS, like
It's-
GEM?
It's our grants.
It's our
Grants
granting
managed.
system.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So basically that's how they go through and apply for the grants program. But it's more so, we really want to focus on 501Cs that have been established at least for 3 years.
Okay.
We do not fund to any government organizations. We do fund just breast health programs that are focused on education, patient navigation, diagnostic services,
Okay.
and also treatment
Screening.
services and screening as well.
Okay, so
Yeah.
if someone is like planning an event and they're doing a fundraiser, they should not apply.
No,
Yeah.
no.
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 I mean, we work with major hospitals. Our grantees for actually this year, we just actually finished up, awarding our grants, which was really exciting. We were able to fund them at the full amount for each of them. So we were really proud about that. San Antonio Hospital, Desert Cancer Foundation, Brago Health.
Okay. So
And-
these are like major players that are
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
work in the community,
Yeah.
that are doing, screenings, mammographies.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also Breast Cancer Solutions. And they're a rather small organization, but they cover a lot of area. And they're one of the only organizations that really provides financial assistance in the Inland Empire. So we try to cover all bases, on screening and treatment, but also for social services and community services. A lot of women that we service are uninsured or underinsured. They don't have transportation services. They need care with utilities. Actually, at one point, they actually helped to buy a lady a mattress.
Wow.
It's to the
Okay.
simplest things, and the most complicated, I guess, would be transportation for the Inland
Transportation,
Empire.
and also the Breast Cancer Solutions sees a lot of people that need help with rent during their time of treatment. So it's for those that are uninsured or underinsured that are going through treatment that Breast Cancer Solutions supports. And so we're grateful that we have these partnerships in order for us to fulfill our mission. One other thing I'd like to add that is new this year that we're so excited about is that we have the Susan G. Komen Inland Empire Breast Cancer Treatment Assistance Program that is sponsored in part by the Salmon Band of Mission Indians. And so that's new. And so that's part of our direct services. So Komen has been known for, being a granting organization for for healthcare providers in the system, healthcare systems, as well as clinics and nonprofits, much like what Kamisha mentioned. But we also provide direct service. We also provide some direct services, and through the Breast Cancer Treatment Assistance Program, we're able to assist. So there's a phone number that people can go ahead and call in, and we'll make sure that we get that so that we can post that on.
We'll put it on.
Yeah.
Put that on to the put that up. But it's we were trying to get that out because that's very new, and so we would love for people to go ahead and make the phone call and get the services that they need. It's a small amount of money, but still, somebody that's going through treatment that needs maybe assistance with their medication, or possibly even it's a young mom and they need help with childcare. This is something that would be covered under that program, which is not necessarily covered by other organizations. So we're proud to have that.
When you say it's a small amount, do you mean that like everyone who comes in and gets approved, they get like $50, or is that like what you're talking about?
It's up to $300, and it's
Okay.
a one time. It's one time 1 year. So and so we're hoping to continue to grow this program. It's much needed. We have information in English and Spanish, and we'll make sure that you have it so you can post it on your Facebook page so that we can go ahead and get the information out.
That's very, very cool.
Yeah.
And so like when you think of Susan G. Komen, like I think about the what is it called? Research.
Yes.
And all the research that they
Yes.
do. And I didn't see them so much, or didn't recognize that they did so much granting and so much in the community. It almost makes like your tentacles and your reach that much bigger
Yes.
when you're going through something like that.
Yes.
And-
Yeah.
And we also work in public policy.
Yeah.
So a lot of times people don't realize that we actually go to our state capital and our national capital and advocate on behalf of patient rights. I recently went to Washington, D.C. to advocate for patient rights, and it was an amazing experience. It was over 300 different Komen representatives, and we visited over 400 different legislatures as far as trying to get these patient rights and the bills passed.
What does that look like? Like when you're an advocate and you are visiting your legislature, like, you know, is there like a big room and you're going to person to person to person? Like,
Yeah.
how do you see
day.
400?
It's a long day. You have about, I think when me and Jill we went
State.
twice to our state capital, and we probably had about 10 different schedules to meet with representatives for different offices. And then at the national capital,
But take me through it, because
Yeah.
so I don't
Through the
know.
whole thing.
Yeah,
So
I
your
don't
day
know what
starts
that
at
looks like.
So your day starts at like 4 a.m. No, I'm just kidding. No, your day starts really early. They wake us up. They pretty much do like breakfast, and then they talk to us about who we're going to be visiting. And then we'll meet.
And when
with,
it's like, this is a big group of advocates, like breast cancer, like
for
is
the
it,
state, each affiliate is a part of the Komen advocacy. And then on a national level, it's all the affiliates basically representing each community that they service.
Okay.
But also supporting the national bills coming from our headquarters.
So is that like 100 people, like 100
Yeah.
different advocates that are in one room?
I have no. For each, so we each visit our local legislation that represents us.
Oh,
so
okay.
like for ourselves,
Okay.
we go through those that are in the Inland Empire, San Bernardino, Riverside County.
Okay.
So it's distinguished by the counties that we are in.
Okay.
But you have to think you have over 200 people representing their community and their affiliate, and they're visiting, you know, like Los Angeles is huge. So they probably had at least 15 to 20 different legislators and
Oh,
representatives
wait just a
that
second.
they were.
We're just as large. Cause
Yeah, no, we are large.
Sandy and I had 16 visits in 1 year we went. It was
Yeah.
a sea of people.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so like when you visit, I'm just trying to picture it. Like, is it literally where you're in one big like conference room?
You're going to the individual
Elected
representative offices.
To their office.
Yeah.
So
And
how do you go to 16 offices in one day?
scheduled.
Scheduled.
And
It
are they in the
starts-
same building?
No.
No.
It's a lot. That's when I wear, so Carrie, you know I always wear heels. I wear
Yeah.
flats that
Yeah.
day.
Okay.
Yeah. They tell everybody wear flats. I mean, we had metastatic breast cancer patients that went to the national capital, and they were able to walk around from almost, I would say we started at possibly 10 a.m. and we didn't stop until about 4:30 or 5.
Yeah.
I mean, these women are dedicated. We
Yes.
have breast
And the-
cancer and advocates. And I don't.
And the visits are typically about 30 minutes long, and we meet
Yeah.
with our elected official or staff, and we will talk to them about what's happening in their district, as well as what is happening on the national public policy for Komen for breast health needs, and also what's happening locally. So we've been pretty successful from the Komen California affiliate standpoint with regards to advocacy efforts, and Komen Inland Empire has been very active. In fact, last year, I think you know her, Sonia Brasino, spoke in front of the Senate Health Committee on behalf of, I think it was SB 945, to lift the treatment assistance, the treatment cap for women that were under the state program, Every Woman Counts. There was a cap of, is it 18
It was 18 months for
months.
breast cancer, 24 months for cervical cancer.
There was a
and you
treatment
know, as being a breast cancer
Yeah.
Yeah.
survivor yourself,
Yeah.
that
18 months
there-
is ridiculous.
Yeah,
Right.
That you can't put a
So
limit
no-
on treatment itself. So
Yeah.
so they were able to lift that treatment, and that was from the support from Komen Advocacy, and then
Wow.
also being representatives
Yes.
at the state capitol.
Yeah.
So tell me this, and I know we're kind of off topic.
No,
Sorry.
that's fine.
I can't.
I love talking about advocacy. It's awesome.
we love
Like,
it. We
Yes.
love it. It's one of our best kept secrets. I don't think Komen
They don't.
does a great
They don't
job
really
in
talk
about
talking
it.
about their
Saying.
advocacy and how much we do. And it's
So
amazing.
tell me this. I know it was maybe a year ago or maybe 2 years ago where the new treatment plan came out where it said if you didn't have to start getting mammograms until you were 50. And then I think they said like every 2 years, like they changed what the standard was.
So those are
Well, for Komen is we emphasize breast self-awareness. And that means that women are aware of what's going on with their body, but they speak with their physicians, they speak with the medical providers, and they work on what is best. Because everyone is different. Everyone has a different family history. Everybody, younger women get breast cancer, older women get breast cancer. So it's really working with your physician in finding out when those mammograms and when those clinical exams are best to serve you as an individual.
Why did those practices or why did those recommendations come down where they pushed it? Because they pushed it to 50.
So screening guidelines is not something that necessarily Komen gets involved in with those guidelines. But what we do is we recommend women to know what's normal for them, to have a conversation with their doctor, when we leave it up to the medical experts with regards to what those screening guidelines are. But Komen does recommend that at the early age in your early 20s, that you start getting those clinical exams.
Yeah.
And then you start having those conversations with your doctor and start talking about what your family history looks like and start to know what is normal for you. So, breast self-awareness is key. And what's normal for me might not be normal for you, won't be normal for Kamisha. It's all different because we're
as a young survivor, it's completely different.
Yes,
so.
yes.
Yeah.
And your journey is different.
Yeah.
And I was speaking in front of, oh God, I can't even remember. Like, it wasn't Seroptimus, but I was speaking in front of an older group. Like, they were in their wonder years. And so one of them, she looked amazing, and she's like, I'm 75, and my doctor said, like, she wears high heels, has cute little, has color in her hair, like super cute. And she's like, my doctor said that I didn't need to get them anymore. And I was like, that is, to me, like, that is insane. If you have breasts, you should be getting mammograms. Like, but is there something that Komen recommends, or is there something? Because I wasn't speaking on behalf of Komen, so I was like, as a woman, if you have breasts, you need to get a mammogram every year.
It's really, like I said, it's really based on your family history, knowing yourself, and then also if you're considered a high risk. So a lot of times, everyone's different, but a lot of times for women under the age of 40 that are very high risks, they may have the BRCA1/2 gene mutation. It's considered by your doctor when you should get those, those screening, you get those screenings done.
So is there something that says at 75 you shouldn't have them anymore?
Typically over the in later years with the lifespan. On average, the diagnosis is about 61 years old for breast cancer. And they really suggest, like I said, working with your doctor. So it's not rare for a woman of that age to actually get their screenings done. Okay. It's really based on individual treatment. Yeah.
And you being your own advocate.
Correct.
Being your own advocate.
Because if you feel like sometimes, if you're not going every year and you're just waiting to feel something, like
No.
I could have been dead by the time I felt it, or my treatment plan would have been drastically different.
A lot more aggressive.
Yes. And like, I feel like they were like almost beating me. Like I was in Africa and they were like, woo, 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 to try to get the cancer out. Like,
I'm not
but like they get so aggressive. It's like they throw everything at it, which trust me, I appreciate. But like at some point, I could have been with like in the back in a room with like, smoke coming out the top because it was like they were doing everything. But okay. So I like to have a good time, But I'd like to take a quick break. And when we come back, what we're going to do is we're going to actually talk about Kamisha in your journey and being a really young breast cancer survivor and what that looked like for you. So we will be right back. Thank you so much. Please stay tuned.
I just feel like I'm here because of the work of Komen.
I'm a 14-year breast cancer survivor, and each year I cross this line, it feels like the first time.
I have had Komen with me for my whole journey.
I'm just loving all of this more than pink. It's more about the research. It's about sisterhood.
We support Susan G. Komen.
The Monday morning men's group gets together because we're just some brothers hanging out having coffee. And we need a safe space where we can talk and be ourselves.
Hidden Treasure was written for women, but the added bonus for all you men out there is you finally get to know what we are thinking. If you want to live a life you love, if you want your relationships to be stronger, then purchase your copy today.
Hey, we're back. My name is Kara Adams. This is our Hidden Treasure Moments podcast. When we left off, we were talking about that I felt like I was being beaten in like a little African hut when I was going through chemo. But you know, everyone's journey is a little bit different. And what we're going to do right now is talk about Kamisha's journey and a little bit about you because we actually never introduced you.
No, it's okay. I feel the love. It's okay. My name is Kamisha Miles. I'm with the Komen Inland Empire affiliate. I started as a volunteer and then I was hired on. I've been with Komen for 4 years now. And I'm the mission program coordinator.
Can you believe it's been 4 years?
No. Komen goes by really fast.
Yes, it does.
The nonprofit world is whatnot. I did not expect it. My background is advertising and graphic design, so it's a completely different world. But I love my work. I love the job that I do. Mm-hmm. I'm able to support not only all women but African American women through our Circle of Promise program. I'm the mission program coordinator, so my position is to basically help with all our mission programs, outreach, education. I also work in our advocacy and also grants management. Everybody does everybody else's job. So we're a small affiliate. We have 4 staff and all the rest of the work we really, work with volunteers. We try to, we do the best that we can, but it really relies upon how many volunteers that we have coming. I mean, you work with us as a representative, a volunteer in our advisory council. Jill text you, call you.
I think it had to do with that African tint. That you gave me something while I was in there. And then I was like, I never volunteered for anything. Really? And now I'm like, sure, yeah.
You're in everything now.
I'm in everything. Yes, you are. I volunteer for everything. I'm like, oh my goodness. That was some good peyote. What do they call it? Peyote?
So I'm gonna go back to my position now.
Oh my god.
But I was basically I was diagnosed at 29 with stage 3 breast cancer. They found it at late stage.
And was it in your family?
I had an aunt and a great grandmother, but they really didn't consider it.
Familial.
It's in the family, but it's not familial. It wasn't my mom or sister or so, but it was there, and we hadn't really talked about it until I was diagnosed.
Now, the thing that I always think about is when I first got diagnosed, like my whole medical team, everyone asked me like, what made you get screened? Did you, and so is that, what made you actually go in at 29?
I saw it. So I had lost about 60 pounds. And for some reason...
Because you wanted to, not because you were sick.
No. This was way before I wanted to get healthy. This is the paradox. Like, I wanted to get healthy, and me being so healthy actually helped me through my treatment plan. And so basically, I had it, and when you look at the breast cancer awareness, we have a educational pamphlet. It was the actual one with the inverted nipple. And the tumor was behind the inverted nipple.
Because it pulls it, or it sucks it in.
It pulls it in, and it was about 2.5 millimeters, the size of and so that's why it was, considered late stage. And by the time they found it, they were very, they said you're very fortunate that we found it at this time. I had all my lymph nodes removed. And, I immediately...
that's a big deal to have all of your lymph nodes removed.
Yeah.
Like when I went through my treatment, I only had one removed because I had the sentinel
The sentinel node.
Yeah, the sentinel node biopsy. And so it wasn't in it. But like, I know women who've had, 20?
Yeah.
And so when you say all, how many, do you know how many that is?
I don't know the count of lymph nodes underarm, but they were removed. And I really, I do have the side effects of lymphedema,
which is when the arms swell.
It swells because the lymph fluid is not being circulated through the arm like it's supposed to because the lymph nodes being removed. From my own journey, and after that, I had chemo on my 30th birthday, November. So 20 exactly. I was diagnosed October 1st. I had surgery October 21st. They did not play. And then I started an aggressive form of chemotherapy. And within my first treatment, I lost my hair. So probably within those 3 weeks, 2 weeks of your treatment plan, I had lost all my hair.
Yeah, I lost all mine by the 21st day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just that number kind of sticks in my head because my oncologist was like, Kara, at about 21, 25 days, you're going to lose your hair.
Yeah.
And I said, is that like 100%?
Yeah.
And she was like, yes. 100% you will lose all of it. And like day 17, I'm like, ooh, I'm not going to lose my hair. I still have my edges. Like day 18, ooh, I'm still good. Day 20, I was like, oh, it's just a little bit.
Oh, I didn't wait.
Well, day 21, I had patches. I had patches.
Oh, no, I wasn't waiting for the patches.
No, I was so insane. Like, at some point, you just think it's funny. Like, it's sad. It's like a sick funny.
Yeah.
And so I would put, I'd have patches of hair that was missing, and I had, one patch that I had up here.
No, I wasn't doing
and
that.
I put a clip-on. I put a clip-on rose on the hair that
You had a good spirit.
Yeah.
You had to have a good spirit.
No, my husband came in. He was like, we're going to get your hair cut off. Like, it was, I was almost borderline insane.
Yeah,
So much was happening that it's like, either you laugh or you cry.
Yeah,
You pick one.
As a Black woman in my family, hair was a huge thing for us. My dad always emphasized, long hair is beautiful on women. So we always had longer hair. And so when it started falling out, the edges started to go, the back. I wasn't watching that. I went in the bathroom, I shaved my head, and I came out. My parents just looked at me like, okay, we'll get used to it. We'll get used to it, but eventually the hair fell off the follicles. I had a cute head though. So.
Yeah. I was surprised. I was like, oh, I can rock this bald head. And I read this book, and it was called Bald Looks Better with Earrings, or Bald is Better with Earrings.
I had my big bamboo, bright colored earrings, the bright lipstick. I did wear wigs for a while because just, you had no hair. But when it started being like the buzz cut, I just wore it. Yeah. It was, and I rocked it. Like, I had my earrings, I had my lipstick, and it's such an empowering thing in your life. I know a lot now, African American women are going back to natural, but for myself, it was, and I did go back to my natural hair. I don't dye it anymore. I don't perm it anymore. I have this huge appreciation for it now. And,
I do all that.
Yeah.
I add it, take it away.
I add it too.
Well, see, I'm more fun with my hair now.
Yeah.
Because once I knew, okay, well, worst comes to worst, I'll go bald. I could do bald.
Yeah.
And so now I color and I do fun, different stuff. I think I'm just more outgoing all the way around in my life now.
Oh, I was the opposite. I've had purple hair. I had red hair.
Oh, before?
I was doing the most with my hair. But afterwards, when I saw it grow back, it was a completely different texture. That it's completely different. And I just, I just appreciated it. You fail to realize how much you miss something when it's gone. It's really empowering, especially women cut their hair short, but it's empowering to, just to wake up and be like, I don't have hair, but oh, well, I could care less.
Right.
I'm a rocket.
Right.
Yeah, my head's cute.
Right.
Bald is beautiful.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Now, how did your family? Because I know for me, it was really hard on my mom and on my father when I was diagnosed.
My mom is actually ovarian cancer survivor, so she was diagnosed at 30. So she'd been through it, and she'd been in the medical field for like almost 30 years. So for her, from a clinical aspect, she just was pushing me to make sure that I was going through my treatments, that I was, getting everything done. I was not slacking, because I definitely wanted to slack.
Yeah.
I didn't, when the side effects start to hit, man,
Yes.
you don't. And my dad wouldn't talk about it. My dad would cry in a separate room, and I could hear him. My dad would cry in a separate room, but when he came out the room, he still will not talk about it to this day. He'll talk about it like, how you doing, or, is everything okay? But even when I shaved my head, I could see tears coming to him, because me and my dad are real close. And he was just like, he won't talk about it. So that's something that's just kind of, I'll talk to my mom about it. She's been through it.
Yeah.
She's had her own complications, and but it was hardest on my dad.
So
I
I think
definitely
it's
say that.
what we don't realize, or what I think we do as survivors, we realize, but when you think about it from an outside point of view, you don't always recognize how it affects the caretaker.
Yeah.
And how hard it is on the caretaker to watch someone you love go through it.
Yeah.
And for my mom, it was kind of the same thing, where she felt like there was something she did because, she had breast cancer, my grandmother and my grandmother's grandmother.
Okay.
That there was something that she did that caused it. And she took some of that blame. And so it's like, in my husband, it was really hard because he felt like he had to be strong. And, he was, but, he didn't, I think you don't know what to take away from the person who's sick, what to let them still do. And I tried to do everything. I wanted to cook still. I wanted to clean still, because to me, it kind of told me what my worth was. If I could do that, then I was still worthy. I was worthy of their love. I was worthy of still having my job. My self-worth was really connected to my what I could do. The things that I could do for other people. And so when I couldn't do that anymore, it was really hard, because I didn't want to give it up.
Yeah.
But he didn't want to take it.
And you're a hard worker.
Yeah.
You're a very hard worker.
I work
so.
hard.
Yes.
But to almost a detriment.
Yeah.
And while I was sick, definitely to a detriment. Yeah. And so I think it was really hard on him, because when I got the sickest I had ever gotten, and he was like, what do I do? I'm watching my wife die, but I don't want to take her only sense of self-esteem away. Yeah. And so finally it was like our doctor had to be like, Troy, you have to take this. Don't let her do this stuff anymore, because she's going to die from stage 1 breast cancer. She shouldn't. It's her. It's what she's doing. She's not taking care of herself. Force her to, or else you guys won't have her. Yeah. And so it's like having that level of transparent conversation, and me finally being like, okay, Lord, I do not want to die. I don't want
realization hits you, and you start to take better care of yourself.
Yes. Yeah. And so what I found is that a lot of people, now I've interviewed a lot of people who have gone through life-altering events, whether it's a cancer, whether it's a sickness, whether it's an accident. But what I find is that afterwards, we are very purpose-driven. And I was saying earlier, I never volunteered for anything. I was always working, between working, my son and my husband, I didn't have time to volunteer. Yeah. When was I going to fit it in? And so, one of the things I want to get into and I want to talk about is you all work in nonprofit, and you work in this constant state of not really, I'm not going to say volunteerism, but it's where you're giving back and you're doing for the community. And so what does that feel like for you to constantly be giving back? And what does it feel like to work for an organization that is here to help the underserved? Does it ever get depressing? You're seeing kind of that, I don't know, when you work in a volunteer field, it's a little different. It's like when you're feeding kids in Africa, it feels great, but how does the caregiver care for themselves.
If you want to go.
Do you want me to go?
Yeah.
That I think it's very self-rewarding. I mean, you know, you meet so many different people, you get to hear their stories, you make great relationships and friends. And, you know, I'm blessed with just meeting so many of these women.
Yeah.
I mean, one of my closest friends now is on the East Coast. She is metastatic. She's
And
under
for
the
people who don't know, will you explain what metastatic breast cancer
Metastatic
is?
breast cancer is where the breast cancer has metastasized into other areas of your body, and so she's going to be a thriver. And so, you know,
And is it when it's metastasized, is that when they consider it stage 4?
Yes.
So it's this is a disease that could potentially take their lives or that
Correct.
will.
Yes.
correct.
So they're living knowing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why we call them thrivers, because they're going to live with this. And I mean, with the research and everything that Komen's
living
doing right
longer.
now, they're living a lot longer.
A lot longer.
A lot longer.
Yeah.
Like I've known 15, 20
Yeah.
years
Yep.
that they're
Yeah.
living with metastatic breast cancer.
And my friend, if you saw her, you would never know. She looks amazing. She's in great shape. She's got great spirit, and she motivates me every day to do what I do. And I think all of us within the office, you hear so many you hear so many survivors. You talk to them on the phone. You talk to somebody that is looking for services. You hear what their needs are, and for me, it charges me to do more and, you know, realize why I'm here. Because there's days that you're just like, oh my gosh, what am I doing?
Yeah, because
And
it's a
then you get
constant
that
state of
to-
asking for stuff.
Yeah,
like
and-
you ask for volunteers, you have to
Yes,
fundraise.
yeah.
Like you're constantly
Yeah.
doing that, and
Yeah.
so it's hard.
Yeah, but you get that call. It's like it always comes in at the right time, because it's like that's what motivates you. This is why I'm here. This is why I'm doing this. And that call always comes in at that point that you're like, oh boy, you know, and then this is why I'm doing this. This is what it means. This is this is what is happening right now. This is real, and this is why we're here.
So when you say that call comes in, like, is that the person who's just been diagnosed who needs someone to talk to?
It could be so many different things. I mean, it could be.
I do patient navigation, which is actually we're one of the first affiliates to really do direct services. I mean, others do
Community
it.
Lay Navigator,
Community Lay Navigator. But they call, and you'll get women who need services, just, you know, annual screening. You know, they don't have insurance or they're underinsured. And we work with our community partners to help them to get those screening services. But you get those calls with women who are stage 4, or you get those calls with women who can't pay their utility bill. And, you know, you get those calls where, you know, women, they're worried about their family, or sometimes their husband has left them after their diagnosis.
Which is insane to me. But I know so many people who've gotten divorced during the process.
It's like you were saying, you know, the caretakers, it can be really hard on the caretakers.
And not being able to take care of themselves. The other thing with regards to calls is it's not necessarily just the call. It's having the conversation with actually the survivors, such as Diana Rojas. I mean, having met her and listening to how she was served and helped through San Antonio, you know, basically, you know, it was through a Komen grant and funding that she was able to get the screening and able to get the services that she needed to live. She was in between jobs.
Yeah.
She just quit her job. She had 2 young children, 1 and 3, and she was making the decision of either making her house payment or, you know, going to go get this screening. And she chose to go ahead and get the screening. It was at the right time because she had an aggressive form of breast cancer, and she's living to this day, and she's doing remarkably well, and we stay in touch with her. But it's that story as well. It's just like, wow, you know, we made an
impact.
Change.
You made a change on people's lives.
Yes.
And we'll get calls back, and people, they're crying. Or I've gotten calls from like the mothers and the sisters, like, thank you for helping my daughter.
Yeah.
We didn't know where to go. We didn't know what to do. And as a survivor, you know, you work with survivors as well, and women who've been diagnosed. it's kind of like living your own journey through every woman that you help. And you have to be able to put yourself aside because it's not about you. It's about the women that you're serving.
Yeah.
It's about helping those women who are taking that journey for themselves. And you remember what it was like, but you're there for them.
Yes.
And that's kind of like what it's like every day working for Komen. You use your own experiences or as a co-survivor or as a thriver. And you know that you're helping these women to make change.
You said a co-survivor.
A co-survivor. Yeah, so Jill, her grandmother was diagnosed with breast cancer.
I love that. I have never heard that term.
You
a
ever
co-survivor?
Yeah.
Really?
No.
So like
It's
your
such
husband and your
it.
son would be
Co-survivors.
Troy.
They have
co-survivor.
Love that.
and they have co-survivor support groups.
Yes.
Just to help. I noticed working within the mission and as an advocate, I work with a lot of our navigators and a lot of our caretakers that, work with these women. They need support too.
Yes,
they do.
Yes.
They need that support too. And they're considered the co-survivors. And, we work with different organizations that provide that social support, even for the family members, because it is really important for the family to have that support as well.
Yes.
Because the woman going through it, she's going through it at that time. And your focus should be completely on your health and getting better. But then the focus of the family members at some point, they have to deal with the diagnosis as well. And sometimes we can forget about our the people that have helped us through it, because it was difficult for them to watch.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was really, I could see like my husband's progression of watching what I was going through.
Yeah.
And then I could see like when I was like at the peak of my, my 5th treatment and I'm feeling like I'm about to die, and to see in his face like that he's scared and that this is hard and that, it really became real. That, when you think of cancer, I think sometimes nowadays that we get a little desensitized because you see so many survivors and you think like,
that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when I was first diagnosed, I was like, oh, I saw my mom, I saw my grandmother, like I'm not going to say it's not that bad, but I thought people make it through.
They do.
I'll be okay. And so when I was like at my worst and I thought, oh wait, maybe I'm, there's a chance that I might not be okay. Like when you don't take it seriously.
Right.
And so even though this conversation and this discussion is about cancer, like it's not. To me, it's like I talk about it so much because I think it parallels life.
Right.
And when you're not grateful for what you have, and when you don't wake up every morning, no matter what you've gone through, reminding yourself about the things that you're grateful for and why you're here on this earth and what you could do to be a better person and to be a better, community person, just be better to your family. Like it doesn't have to take something this drastic to change your whole life and to change your outlook on life. And I almost think if more people thought like that and thought like, man, I'm so grateful, like there would be less just bad in the world. Right. And so I know one of the things for me is that when I did get sick, it made huge changes in my life. I made very big adjustments and, I'm not that VP anymore. Now I'm CEO of my own company.
Of course. You're much better.
Yeah. But like I wrote the book Hidden Treasure, show you.
Yes.
I'm doing the audio book. But I found that I'm just so much more driven. And it's because when I'm out talking to people, it's like I see that I can affect change. The things that I'm doing, I can help someone. I can make a difference. And so like when I'm asking about like you working in nonprofit and making a difference, it's not on the list, so don't freak out.
I'm not.
But like what? Because you work in nonprofit, have you done anything different with your life?
Yes.
Are you
yes.
like what does that look like? Like the Jill before nonprofit and the Jill now? Like do you think different? Do you do anything different? What's different about the core of who you are?
It's kind of a loaded question.
Yeah, Kara. And I'm going to ask you too.
Oh, no, fine.
Yes.
I answer these questions all the time.
Okay. Yes. And either can go first if you need.
You wanna
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, for myself, I was starting to get healthy physically, but the mental aspect of taking care of myself, of taking the time out to cook a meal, taking the time out to just care for myself. Because we, as caretakers and people that really love to give, we give, and then we don't give the same return to ourselves. So I think after that journey, I really started to reflect on, did I take care of myself enough? Did I do the things that I needed to do for myself first?
Yes.
Because first, everything in my life, my health comes first, no matter what. No matter what, my health comes first. And then second is helping others. So I would say my thing is taking care of, my well-being, but then also being able to not have my own journey be in vain. So for myself, I feel working in nonprofit and being able to give back, my journey was not in vain. I gave purpose to my journey.
Yes.
My journey didn't have a purpose, but I gave it purpose.
Yeah.
To be able to go forward.
Because there's so much pain in it that I feel this exact same way. Like me writing the book and everything I went through, it was because I was like, there has to be some big purpose for all this pain. There has to be some silver lining for everything that I went through, or else what was it for? Did I just get sick to get sick?
I think that's a question for, just for everybody.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Okay, Jill.
Oh boy. No, I think Kamisha hit it pretty well, is that taking your health very seriously. And I think I've always taken my health seriously, but more so being in this organization, especially for women's health, is that, make sure you have that well woman check. Your mammograms on an annual basis. For example, I don't want to be the hypocrite. Go out there and go get your yearly mammogram. And my time usually to go get my yearly mammogram happens to be right around the walk time. So I was like, how am I going to do this? And so pretty much last year, it was after the walk, and I was like, something's missing. What did I forget to do? And I'm like, oh my God, I forgot to do my yearly mammogram. So a year ago, I and they don't get you can't always get right in. It takes a little while to get to get on the schedule. So I went in and I felt something, shared with them, and luckily it wasn't a breast cancer diagnosis, but it was something that could turn into it. So staying on top of that, having the things that I needed to do, and going in and getting the treatment that I needed to get done, it really made me stay on top of it, that my health, and then I need to carve out an hour for me every day. So, but
Jill needs to carve out an hour first. So
I do. I am carving out an hour every day. It might not be the consistency of every day. It might be at 6 o'clock in the morning. It might be at 9 or 10 at night. But I do carve out 1 hour for me every single day, because I need to make that an important priority in my life. But working in philanthropy and working in nonprofits is something that I've done for, I would say going on maybe 10 to 15 years. And time flies, and it's just very rewarding. You know what I mean? You get to meet so many different people.
It really is. It's super rewarding work. And we're going to take a quick break. But before we do, so don't drink your water yet.
I won't drink my water yet.
I want to talk about, men get breast cancer too.
Yes.
And I know Carrie is probably, if she's not watching right now, at some point she's going to text in and be like, men get breast cancer. Okay. So I'm always thinking about Carrie Madrid. Hey, the Care Project, what's up?
Hi, Carrie.
But when we come back, I want to talk about men and breast cancer and what that looks like. And I think there was just a big conference on men and breast cancer. There was a conference in Florida. Yes. So I want to talk about that when we return. So we will be right back. Stay tuned.
The Monday morning men's group gets together because we're just some brothers hanging out having coffee. And we need a safe space where we can talk and be ourselves.
Hidden Treasure was written for women, but the added bonus for all you men out there is you finally get to know what we are thinking. If you want to live a life you love, if you want your relationships to be stronger, then purchase your copy today.
I just feel like I'm here because of the work of Komen.
I'm a 14-year breast cancer survivor, and each year I cross this line, it feels like the first time.
I have had Komen with me for my whole journey.
I'm just loving all of this more than pink. It's more about the research. It's about sisterhood.
We support Susan G. Komen.
It's our. Oh.
Hello, we are back to our Hidden Treasure Moments podcast. Today in the studio, I have Jill Eaton and I have Kamisha Miles from Susan G. Komen IE. And when we left off, we were talking about men get breast cancer too. So I want to talk about that a little bit because it's so funny. Well, not funny, but where was I? I was speaking. I don't know where I was speaking. I was speaking at something. And there was a gentleman and he was like, "Oh, I don't need to hear this part. Men don't get breast cancer."
Oh,
and I was like, man, that is just so sad that as a community, as a people, that we don't realize that how much it does affect men. And I think you have stats on what that looks like.
Yeah, I would say more than or about 1,200 annually men are diagnosed with breast cancer, and about 400 a year have passed away from breast cancer.
Which is a huge percentage.
It is a huge percentage.
When you look at 1,200 diagnosed and 400 actually lose their lives to it.
Yeah.
And is there like a thought behind why they're, are they later stage, why they lose their life and why their mortality rates are so high?
I think it's education. Komen has educational materials that I take with me to every single event.
Yes.
Because, we even have spoken in front of men.
Yes.
Not Bank of America, but...
Bank of America's one because it was on
Bank of
America
we
was
spoke
one.
in front of Bank of America. We spoken in front of salesmen.
Yes.
And they have questions.
Yes.
I've spoken in front of a group of high school football seniors.
Wow.
You could just imagine.
Asking questions.
And they have questions, because
what kind of questions do they ask?
Their mothers, their grandmothers, they just want to know information. And then when you tell them that men also can get breast cancer as well, a lot of them don't know. Yeah. And so I take that education piece with me everywhere I go. And if a man comes to the table and sometimes they'll have, little remarks or something, but I'll pass it on to them. I'll let them know, men can get breast cancer too.
But it's also one of the most requested pieces of education material that we do get from the office.
I would say that.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it is. And then also, I would say in October it's it throughout the year. But we'll get a high volume of people asking, do you have anything on education for men getting breast cancer? And it is one of the most requested pieces that we have. And then also when we're out doing tabling events, correct me if I'm wrong, we will have men come up and they will look and they'll pick up the stuff, but then they'll take the flyer. But they not always will ask, but they take the flyer and will look at it and read it and ask questions. So and then they might come back and ask questions. They're very different than how a woman would come up and react at the table. That's
they're more
sure.
like
at Cathedral of Praise, which is one of our faith-based partners. One of the men took the stack for all males and he was passing it out to every single church member that was coming out. Yeah. Men get really involved with our cause as well, especially when they found we've had spokespeople that were male survivors.
Yeah.
And
Kenneth. Hey Kenneth.
Hi. And they get really involved, especially because they've seen their mother or wife or even their daughter, go through breast cancer, and just the realization, I had a young female, it wasn't her mother, it was her father who had breast cancer.
Wow.
And when you hear a story like that, you have to remember, it's a growing, problem with breast cancer, that men are getting it. And I believe our education and more education on it is really helpful in the community right now.
And awareness.
Yeah.
Awareness of what, awareness.
Because does it present it presents like a lump, or
it can. So it can present as hardening, or can present as a lump
or discharge.
Or a discharge. they treat it a little bit differently with males because it's just different for men. I had a call where a young Hispanic male had called in and he had lumps, and actually his mother was having a hard time to get him checked and to get him screened. So we actually do have a partner that was able to get him some services. Yes. Because it can be difficult to get men screened. Yep. To get men screened.
Really?
Yes, it can be difficult. Yeah.
Because they don't have at 40, go get a mammogram every year.
So they need to have a conversation with their doctor and let them know and let them know what their symptoms are and make sure that they understand what, know your body.
And men don't think about their family history.
Yes.
Which is a major part, and we have these forms that women fill out to give us more information on screening and things like that. And suggestion from our headquarters was to make sure that you also put, do you have a family history on your paternal side? Because women don't really think about, my mother's side, but my father's side, it can be a history of breast cancer. And so we put that information as well. And I think it's just something that we really need we need to raise awareness on. Definitely. Yeah.
So we only have a few more minutes, and I really wanted to talk about Circle of Promise.
Okay.
I'm like, oh my Lord. I was like, okay, I really want to go into what it is. And I wrote up this whole thing, and we've got like 3 minutes left. I'm so bad. Okay. So with that time, if you'd say a little bit about Circle of Promise, what it is, what the event is that you have coming up. The breakfast. Yes.
So Circle of Promise is a it was a statewide initiative, and all the California affiliates had this program. And basically what it is addressing African American community on breast cancer. That's empowering women to make sure that their own self-advocates in the African American community. Unfortunately, African American women suffer at a 41% mortality rate than their Caucasian counterparts in other ethnicities. So what we're doing is raising that awareness and educating women in San Bernardino and Riverside counties about this. It's an epidemic. It's a problem in our community. And it needs to be addressed. And what our Circle of Promise breakfast is basically celebrating the lives of our survivors, appreciating our sponsors, appreciating and raising awareness, having people come out and speak to African American women to help and empower them, like I said, to take care of their own breast health. It's really important, especially in San Bernardino itself. There is a high rate of mortality within the city. So if it's that focus and reducing disparities and reducing gaps in services, making sure that there's cultural competency when a woman's going in to get her screenings done, making sure the gap in care, that they're getting the turnaround services that they're supposed to be getting if they're diagnosed. So I don't know, as African American women, if you encountered any differences in your treatment or your treatment plans or how you were affected. But for myself, I definitely saw a difference in how, my approach to my treatment was different. I will say that. And so we fight for that as well.
Yes.
For the women in our community.
Well, see, I think God had a plan for me. And so very rarely is your team my surgical what is it? My surgical oncologist was an African American man. And so he spoke to me differently than I think than what could have normally happened. And even my radiologist, when I was going in and getting my mammograms and getting my biopsy, she was very, very young. And she did things that normally I think a normal person, a normal physician who or a doctor who had seen a lot of screenings might not have done. And so I felt like God wanted me to be and to have this platform because my treatment was just everything that happened with my diagnosis, with my treatment plan, with my surgeons, it was just so out of the norm that I was like, I could really see how easily we could fall through the cracks.
Yeah.
Just truly, if that radiologist would have said, you know what, it looks like a cyst, it's acting like a cyst, I'm 99% it's a cyst, come back in a year, I wouldn't be here. There's no way I believe it with every inch of my being. And so like little things like that had to happen in order for me to get the treatment that I got. And so I could really, I'm with you. I can see it. And now with the day, with the COP, Circle of Promise breakfast, you always do it on a very special day.
Yes. So if you want to explain a little
It's
bit.
August 1st. August 1st, it will be held at Dignity Health St. Bernardine's Medical Center, starting at 8:30
In San Bernardino?
In San Bernardino. And Circle Promise Day is in recognition and in honor of Henrietta Lacks' birthday. And so that's why that day was chosen.
And say a little bit about Henrietta Lacks, because people might not know.
So basically, so just short, Henrietta Lacks was a African American woman who was diagnosed with cervical cancer, but her cells were taken, and her cells have been a part of research for a very long time, and they call them HeLa cells. But her cells are able to duplicate faster than other cells, so they can actually see how different diseases affect cells.
Oh,
so,
wow.
A lot of researchers will be familiar with HeLa cells.
Okay.
So that's why it was celebrated on her day as an African American woman.
Which is August 1st.
August 1st.
Okay.
Yes.
And so are tickets available?
Yes, our website will be going up on hopefully tomorrow.
Okay.
And so you'll be able to buy tickets.
And you're
for
welcome to call.
Yeah, and you can call the office right now,
Yeah.
and you can buy tickets today
Perfect.
by calling our office, which is 951-676-PINK.
Okay.
So,
And I'll put it on the link so you can get it. So it's super easy. You know, I get with these ladies and I can't stop myself from talking. We don't have much time to say all of our thank yous, but what I would like to say is thank you to both of you. Thank
No
you,
problem.
Jill.
No.
Thank you, Kamisha, for coming in.
thank you for the invitation.
Absolutely.
This is great.
For giving the good fight, for always working for our communities to make it better. I want to thank everyone who's out there watching. And this has been an amazing day.
One of our guest speakers at the August 1st event happens to be
This girl.
Kara Adams.
Yeah,
So
Kara.
come out and see
Yes.
her and
Support.
and support
Yes.
the
Support her.
cause.
Yes.
So thank you.
So we're here every Thursday at 10:30. We'd love to see you every week. So please tune in next week. And with that, have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.